Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. I was whizzing through Amazon, as I so often do, and looking things up and trying to see what's available. And I noticed this thing. It's called 100 Great Symphonies, and it's still available. I'm trying to see what year did it come out originally. 2014? Was that when it was? This edition, 2014. So yeah, it's been around for quite a while. And I call this 100 Great Symphonies the Witless Lemming edition. Why? Well, because although it doesn't say it anywhere here on this cube, this was allegedly assembled based on the votes of the record-consuming public. But then we have to get into the details, and this is where things get interesting, really interesting. So here's the little bookie that gives us simply a track listing and nothing else. And we have an explanatory note by the president of Deutsche Grammophon, Mark Wilkinson. Here we go. The people have spoken once again. In recent years, Deutsche Grammophon has sought to involve the voting musical public. What is the voting? What musical public votes? You mean the musical public who votes in political sense, in national elections? Or the musical public that votes for musical things, which never happens unless you ask them to. Like, I ask you to contribute lists. I mean, then you, I guess... Okay, the voting musical public, hang on, in making repertoire selections for its larger boxed sets. Well, maybe that's why they're so awful. Anyway, this happened with the Mahler People's Edition, and I remember that vaguely, and in 2013 with the Berliner Philharmoniker Centenary Edition, celebrating 100 years of the orchestra's recording with the label. Both of these ventures met with considerable acclaim. The public response was encouraging, and the resulting boxes successful. Okay? I mean, if they were, they were. I can't argue with that. Now we have prepared 100 Great Symphonies. The present 58 CD box set, whose contents are similarly based on the results of an online vote. This time, no one asked me. How did we know that we were voting? This time, our faithful public, wait a minute. First it was the voting musical public, but now it's the faithful Deutsche Grammophon public. Different thing. Was asked the simple question, what are your favorite symphonies? Up to 10 different works drawn from 3 centuries of music could be chosen. Over 2,300 people responded, casting over 8,000 votes altogether. We have made the top 50 symphonies in the voter charts the backbone of this set. The top 10 symphonies voted for were 1. Beethoven, well, you know which one. The 9th. Beethoven number 3, the Eroica, Dvorak's New World, Mahler 2, Beethoven 5, Beethoven 7, Brahms 4, Mahler 5, Mahler 1, and Tchaikovsky's Pathetique. Okay, so there you go. The resulting box contains a huge range of works, starting with Giovanni Battista Sammartini. Oh, we have something to say about that. And ending with Arvo Pärt and Philip Glass, taking in every major symphonist on the way that providing over 60 hours of glorious, fascinating listening. The vote has produced the core of the box, he already said that, with cycles by Beethoven, Schumann, and Brahms, and major contributions from Bruckner, Mahler, and Shostakovich. We have felt free to extend the list chronologically, going back to the beginnings of the symphony and exploring the 20th century more broadly, so the box also provides a history of the form. In other words, we had junk we had to throw in here, and so we decided to say, to hell with what people actually voted for, and do it our way. That's what always happens. When I was working at RCA on the liner notes for the what was it called? The Basic 100 edition. And they just, tossing crap in all over the place. There was no real plan there. And here, of course, they say they wanted your votes, and they got their votes, and then they made them the backbone of the edition. Well, what are the votes going to be? Sure, it's going to be Beethoven's 5th, Mahler 2, Tchaikovsky's 6, I mean, did they even need to have people vote for that? Really? I mean, couldn't they just put together a really, really fine list and say to heck with it? Is that a selling point? That's why I call it the Witless Lemming edition. If that's the selling point, then you're a Witless Lemming. Period. Anyway, in order to present as rich and colorful a sound world as possible, here we go, we decided to limit the number of complete symphonic cycles, choosing the most significant or popular works from an individual composer's oeuvre. There are some great rarities, too. Franz Schmidt's Fourth, Samuel Barber's Symphony No. 1. Well, it's not such a rarity. Philip Glass's Low Symphony, well worth a listen. All of these recordings are offered in acclaimed interpretations by Deutsche Grammophon artists. More on that soon, let's put it that way. And also from Decca. And let's say from the Decca side, we have Cha-Cha-Cha, and we have period instrument people. We wish you many happy hours and rewarding, many hours of happy and rewarding listening. Yes, of course they do. Okay, so that is the deal. We took a concept, we asked some people, we paid attention to their opinion when we felt like it, we ignored it when we felt like it. We're making that the gimmick, the hook, to get you Witless Lemmings to buy the box. But now we're going to talk about what's in the box. And we're going to talk about it in a series, because I don't want to do all 100 of these things at once. I mean, I think we should savor them individually and see what the repertoire choices were and what the performance choices were. I mean, that's what really matters, right? Don't we all know that? And right at the start, something very strange happens. I mean, which I thought was just beyond juicy. I really did. So here we have Sammartini, Sinfonia in A major, Giovanni Battista. Why? Because Sammartini is widely regarded as the guy who sort of invented the orchestral symphony, the Sammartini brothers, more or less. But here's the thing. They don't have any Sammartini symphonies in their catalog. All of Universal, evidently, does not. Maybe one of you knows if they do. I tried to look, but I don't know. I don't know their whole catalog. But they used the Aradia Ensemble under Kevin Mallon. Now, those of you who know that particular group know who they record for. Yes, Naxos. Not mentioned in the introduction. The very first thing in this series was licensed from Naxos, which I find absolutely hilarious. They had a concept. The concept was present the history of the symphony. So that obviously clashed with let's do what people vote for. Or let's just do the 100 greatest symphonies in our opinion. Because nobody thinks Sammartini was a great symphonist. He was a historically interesting figure. But nope, they had to go with the concept. So that means their first thing is not even a universal recording. I just find that dazzling. So that's CD 1. Let's see. The next one. Johann Stamets, Symphonia in D major with Hogwood. Okay, fine. Dittersdorf, Symphonia in A minor with the Camerata Bern under Thomas Fury. That's okay. Johann Christian Bach with Mariner in the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields. All right, his Symphonia in F major. And then Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach. Yay! The Symphonia in D major. That's that famous one. Wodka 183, number 1, with the Munich Bach Orchestra under Karl Richter. So-so performance. But, that's disc 1. So you've got all of these, like, little early guys in the early history of the symphony. And I have to say, nobody needed them. We really didn't. You could have found room for, like, something else by Brahms or Mahler. Anyway, okay. So that's how they started. Not, in my view, all that auspiciously. Then we've got Haydn. Okay, Symphonies 39, 48, and 49 with Pinnock. Very, very good. Symphonies 88 and 94 with Bernstein and the Vienna Phil. Very, very good. 101 and 104 with Joachim and the London Phil. Very, very good. And that's it for Haydn. Now, I'm sure you know how I feel about that, right? I mean, seriously. They couldn't have put Haydn's Morning, Noon, and Night or, some of his early stuff instead of these less interesting Baroque schmoes who they decided to choose. All right, fine. So CD 5, here we are. Mozart, Symphonies 25, 29, and 35 with Pinnock. Those are good. 38 and 39 with the Vienna Phil and Levine. Okay, they're all right. 41 and 40 in that reverse order with the Vienna Phil and Leonard Bernstein. Very beautiful. Very beautiful. Somewhat, I think, a little soft-edged, but they're very pretty. Okay, then we've got Beethoven. You've got 1 and 2 with Gardner, 3 and 4 with Berlin Phil and Abbado, 5 and 7 with Dudamel and Simon Bolivar, also nothing special. The Pastoral and 8 with Carl Böhm and Vienna Phil. Yes, excellent. And the 9th with Leonard Bernstein and the Vienna Phil, which is very, very good. Okay, so you've got a very patchy Beethoven cycle with some really stupid choices in the middle, given their discography. Really, really stupid choices. That's why it's the Witless Lemming edition. So everyone votes, let me just put it to you this way. Everybody votes for Beethoven's 5th, and they give you Dudamel and the Simon Bolivar Youth Orchestra of Venezuela in the 5th? With the catalog they have Kleiber and Markevich and Karajan and Böhm and I mean, on all of the universal labels? That's the best they could do? It's ridiculous. All right. CD 13, Schubert, Symphonies 3 and 5 with the Berlin Phil and Carl Böhm, 8 and 9 with the Berlin Phil and Carl Böhm. Okay, lovely, except they could have chosen his Staatskapelle Dresden 9th, which is like thrilling. And they're both very good, mind you. But that, again, that was all they could do for Schubert? I mean, they have Herbert Blomstedt, they have, okay. Berlioz, Symphonie Fantastique, the Mahler Chamber Orchestra, and the Les Musiciens du Louvre Grenoble with Minkowski. Unbelievably stupid. You've got Markevich, you've got Karajan, you've got Gardner. It's much better. That is just demented. A demented, ridiculous choice. The Mendelssohn, Symphonies 3 and 4, London Phil and Abbado. Okay, that's fine. Schumann Symphonies, the Vienna Phil, and Bernstein, all 4 of them, his whole Schumann cycle. Did you really need a complete Schumann cycle? I mean, really? Okay. Liszt, the Faust Symphony, Staatskapelle Dresden Sinopoli. Interesting. Of course, the best one is the Boston Symphony with Bernstein. Brahms, 1 and 3 with Karajan and Berlin, and 2 and 4 with Karajan and Berlin. It's a good Brahms cycle, but of course Karajan had 2 or 3 of them, and I'm not even going to worry about whether it was the best one. Dvorak 8 and 9 with Berlin Phil and Kubelik. All right, that's good. And Tchaikovsky 4 and 5 and 6 with the Berlin Phil and Karajan. Well, he was a wonderful Tchaikovsky conductor. That's absolutely true. Borodin Symphony No. 2 with Gothenburg and Järvi. Oh, they could have done Martinon. They had him on Decca. They have all kinds of other Borodin 2s. This was not a special Borodin 2. Rachmaninoff 2, Russian National Orchestra, and Pletnev. So. Okay, Franck Symphony in D minor and Roussel 3rd, the Bernstein Orchestre Nationale de France. That's a terrific record. That really is. Oh, you know what? We're not going to do several videos. We're just going to wrap this up because we're already on CD 27 out of 56. You want to do the whole thing? Well, we're having so much fun. Saint-Saëns, 3rd Symphony, Simon Preston, James Levine. Why not Barenboim in Chicago, folks? Or Edo de Wart in San Francisco. Stunning recordings both, and audibly superior to this one. Scriabin 3rd with Pletnev and the Russian National Orchestra. They should have done Sinopoli. Really? They should have done Sinopoli for the Divine Poem. Bruckner 4, Berlin Phil and Joachim. Bruckner 7, Vienna Phil Karajan. Bruckner 8, Vienna Phil Carl Böhm. That's a strange choice. I actually like that 8th, but it's a strange choice, a little bit cut here and there. A little trimmed. Kind of odd when you have, the live Karajan Bruckner 8, which was one of his, greatest ever recordings toward the end of his life. I don't get it. I don't. And they also have Barenboim and Bruckner, and Okay, Mahler 1, Concertgebouw with Bernstein, it's first rate. Mahler 2, Vienna Phil and Boulez, nothing special. Mahler 5, Simon Bolivar Youth Orchestra with Dudamel, nothing special. Mahler 9, Berlin Phil, Claudio Abbado, not bad. But Mahler is not well served in this box. Not around. That's all the Mahler there is. So, we're not in a happy place. Sibelius 2 and 5, Gothenburg Symphony with Järvi, not special. I mean, they've got Blomstedt on Decca doing those works. Come on. Seriously. And that's it for Sibelius, by the way, which is, I think, woefully inadequate. Elgar 2, Philharmonia and Sinopoli. It's a terrible performance. It's soggy and slow as molasses, and it's one of his hothouse flower super decadent things. Some people may like it for that reason, but they've got Schulte in the London Phil, who's very exciting in Elgar. Universal does not have the best Elgar stuff, granted. I mean, they just don't. But they also have Andre Previn on Philips, who's quite good. I mean, they had choices. Obviously, they didn't know they had choices. Strauss Alpine Symphony, Vienna Phil and Telemann. Oh, God! I mean, they have Schulte with Bavarian Radio or whatever it is. It's amazing. The Schulte on Decca, it's a stunner. It's a knockout. Or you could have Herbert Blomstedt, which is excellent. Or Haitink in the Concertgebouw, which is gorgeous. They picked this Bow Wow from Telemann. That's absolutely inexcusable. Schoenberg, Chamber Symphony No. 1 with Orpheus. Okay, that's good. Webern Symphony with the Berlin Phil and Boulez. Nobody needed that. I'm sorry. It's not a major work in the history of the symphony. I mean, say what you will. Schmidt Fourth with Vienna Phil and Maida. Great. It's a wonderful thing to have added. I agree. Nielsen 4 and 5 with the Gothenburg and Järvi. No. Not good. I mean, it's not a great Nielsen cycle, and they could have done Blomstedt in San Francisco, which is one of the great Nielsen cycles. So, Prokofiev, 1 and 5 with Berlin and Karajan. Okay, 5th is fabulous. Shostakovich, 1 and 7, the Chicago Symphony Bernstein stuff, which is wonderful. The 5th with Rostropovich and the National Symphony. Not as good as his Teldec remake, but it's still a powerful performance. Number 10 with Berlin and Karajan. Well, that's very good. I mean, it really is very good. I could think of other things that they have. Quite a few other things that they have. I would have put the Haitink 5th because it's just really one of his best. And we know. Charles Ives, Symphony No. 2, New York Phil and Bernstein. Okay, Barber 1 with the Baltimore Symphony and Zinman. Excellent. Hindemith, Mathis der Mahler and Harmony der Welt with Blomstedt, San Francisco and the Gewandhaus. Those are good to have. Vaughan Williams 4, the London Phil and Roger Norrington. Beggars can't be choosers, because what Vaughan Williams does Universal have? I'm trying to think. Well, they do have Adrian Bolt on Decca. I mean, they're old, and they're not great sounding, but they are wonderful performances. Really, really wonderful performances. Maybe they could have done a couple of those instead of this ridiculous Roger Norrington recording. That's funny. I mean, that's just humorous. I mean, if you're going to do it, get the best stuff you have, right? Walton 1 with Bournemouth and Lytton. That's very good. Roy Harris 3rd and William Schumann 3rd with New York Phil and Bernstein. Those are first rate. Symphony of Psalms, John Elliott by Stravinsky. John Elliott Gardner with the Monteverdi Choir in the London Symphony. That's nice and icy cold. It's a Gardner specialty. The Stravinsky Symphony in C and Symphony in 3 movements with the Israel Phil and Bernstein. Those are very good. Honegger 2 and 3, the famous Karajan recordings. They're marvelous. The Tarangalela Symphony with Myung-Whun Chung and the Orchestra of the Bastille. That's not a great Tarangalela. They could have had Scheide in the Concertgebouw, which would have been fabulous. That's wonderful and exciting and 10 times better played. And, another dumb choice. Copland 3 with New York Phil and Bernstein. Well, that's great. Bernstein's own Symphony No. 2 with Bernstein. And we're getting to the end here. Britten Sinfonia de Requiem with Britten. Well, can't beat that. Tippett's Third with Colin Davis and the London Symphony. No. That's not the right Tippett Symphony. I mean, when you're dealing with Tippett, who was sort of crazy, you want something that's going to make some friends. I would have coupled 1 and 2 in Colin Davis's recording and put them on there. Then you would have been great. Well, you would have had more than 100 symphonies. One of either one or number 1 or number 2. Probably number 2, just to give it a little sense of his, more modernity, less neoclassical. But third is weird and nasty and very difficult. And I just don't think that makes sense. The Barrio Symphonia with Utvush. Well, that's a good Barrio Symphonia. I mean, if you want to throw that in there. Ludoslavsky Third with the Berlin Phil and Ludoslavsky. All right, it's good. Not great, but it's good. Goretsky's Third with Kazimier's Chord. I wonder what that's on. Label that's on. Probably a chord. I wonder if they tell us. Wait a minute. There's a thing here. CD 55, Poland. It just says Poland. Universal Music International. Yeah, so it is a universal recording. Arvo Part Third with Yarvi. It's fine. And Philip Glass Symphony Number 1 with the Brooklyn Phil and Dennis Russell Davies, which was originally issued on, Gothenburg Concert Hall, Poland. Did they even tell us? Deutsche Grammophon, Universal Music International. Yeah, it's Universal. Okay, fine. And that's it. So there you have 100 symphonies. I could think of, well, let's put it this way. I could think of quite a few other symphonies that could have gone in here. That they have. We're not going to go through the entire list. It doesn't make any sense to do it, but there were quite a few that they could have done and that they decided not to. The choices are quixotic. The concept is stupid. And, well, like I said, it's 100 Great Symphonies, the Witless Lemming edition. So if you're a lemming, get in line and grab it before it's too late. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.